Hello, I'm Anita Ulner, and welcome to Back to School Night in Room 14 for the 21-22 school year. Hope you find the information tonight not overwhelming, but a good overview. And then if you want follow-up, lots of ways to communicate with me. Here's an overview of tonight's presentation, or this afternoon's presentation. I'll give you some background, ways to communicate with me and the ways I communicate with you, Room 14 foundations, and then our expectations. And included in that are some curricular overviews so you know what to expect your child to be learning. We'll talk a little bit about grading and classwork. Then finally, we'll talk about selling cookies or fundraisers and study trips, maybe. So my background is I'm a product of Fresno Bullard High School, and I went to Fresno City, and then went on to UCLA where I earned a BA in English and took enough history that I kind of had a history minor, and so I do lots of history in this class. After graduation, I moved to New York and fulfilling a dream that I had at 11 years old, visiting New York City. I wanted to live there one day, and so the positions I held there were in two entirely different businesses. Saks Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, I was department manager, and then after that went to IBM Corporation as a marketing team support person. And so in both positions, learned a lot about working with people. Decided I wanted to do something different and rather idealistically wanted to change the world. So I wanted to become a teacher. I moved back to Fresno, got my teaching credential at CSU Fresno. Interestingly, I was a student teacher here. That's where I first fell in love with Manchester, and then joined FUSD soon after. And I have been here a little over 20 years. Ways for us to communicate, and I'll give you a little handout that has this information. I send out a Monday Actionly. That's that go home note via our partner in communication, Actionly. I go over. So that kind of gives you an overview. It's not very wordy. It just kind of gives you the blurbs. You can email me if you want to get a hold of me. You can text me as well. I have a special number for texting, and that's it right there, 559-549-7140. Or you can private chat with me via your Room 14ers team page. And those are my times of availability. If it is a lengthy issue, just let me know a convenient time to chat with you. I am super direct, so sometimes my emails and my texts can sound far blunter, harsher, and more like a New Yorker than I intend for them to. So for me, voice inflection is super important. So if we have long conversations, I may ask that we actually speak. So some foundations in the classroom, and I need to tell you these have not changed for a while because they work. First of all, the idea for me as a teacher and for your students that we can learn anything. Rather than play the video during this presentation, I'm going to link it. I would strongly encourage you to watch it. It just reminds us that we don't automatically wake up and know how to walk or talk. I should say we aren't born with that ability. We have to learn it. And it's the same with algebra. It's the same with the writing process. Another thing that we have learned over the years is that shared awkwardness creates community. So one of the things we've done the past couple of years is we do the hokey pokey at least one time a day. And sixth graders, when they feel safe, they see other sixth graders doing goofy things, are able to relax a little bit, and for whatever reason, the student that comes into room 14 finds these sorts of activities a way to bond with one another. Your kids will hear all sorts of stories about people, former students who have been married, who are lifelong friends, and they first met in room 14. In August, one of the ways that we're going to, it won't be awkwardness, but it'll be easygoing, is we'll be playing board games. And in fact, we have done that today, and we'll do it again tomorrow at school if you're watching this on Thursday. So it helps us to get to know new people, and it builds relationships. So some expectations. I won't read these necessarily. I'll kind of just give you the takeaways. So my mission, my commitment as a teacher, Room 14 teacher, is to help students learn how to learn. And the way I do it is to nurture and cultivate their gate intellect and interests, and then providing the opportunities for them to grow both intellectually and creatively. And then student commitment. What will be his or her mission? Just so you know, the bolded statement. I'm going to ask students to work together to create this commitment. I have some suggestions there if they work for students. And of course, they may have a different way of forming these thoughts. But I'd like for them to kind of come up with what's their mission for this year. All right. And then these are some general information sites. I will, in my first Actionly, I will provide links to all of this. But my website is dynamic. It does change, but I'll let you know anytime there's something important there. So what are they learning? They're learning standards, curriculum. And as you know, at Manchester, we have differentiated ways to do that. Namely, it's a little bit more rigorous. We move a little faster, as you know. So we'll use the standard math book, and then we'll also be using a site called Khan Academy as we move forward. If you have questions, do let me know. And our curriculum in 6th grade is mastering all the things we've learned up to 6th grade, and then important real life skills like finding the percentage of something. In language arts, we'll read both novels together, and we'll be using a couple of academic magazines, notably Scope. It often deals with current events or people around the world, stories and history set to a reader's theater, and through that build our reading ability. In writing, for the most part, I use something called the writing process. Rarely will I tell a student, we're going to write this and you only have one day to write it. We take it through the process, which if your child was a 4th grader here, you know that process very well. And then within that, I teach grammar. I don't teach it isolated. The one thing that might be new and that students will learn lots about and will practice together is the 40 book challenge. Students will independently read 10 books each quarter across genres. It's purely student choice. I'm going to ask the students to decide how to be accountable, and they'll have one project per quarter. Normally, I will mention that in Actionly so you're aware of it. But again, this year, we're building student independence, learning independence, and it will look a little different this year than it did last year with remote learning. There will actually be me walking around and supporting as needed. These 10 books, if your child is not a reader, please do not stress out. We have all a variety of books that they can read. And the benefits of reading 1,000,000 words a year, which is what 40 books comes up to, have long-lasting effects. All right, in history, we will predominantly study the ancient world through videos, activities, and then our core history book. We will also spend a little bit of time on current events based on Junior Scholastic magazine, that's another academic magazine, and perhaps events that are happening in the world. Any conversation we have about current events is always started with and ended with, these are events to discuss with your parents, or I hope you're discussing this with your parents, or please discuss this with your parents. That well-rounded conversation is so important to me as a teacher. Grading. So the purpose of grading is, first and foremost, it is an education system requirement. It's something I have to do. Um, I look at it as it provides data that can help determine a student's level of understanding along with their work habits and perseverance. I am sure you have met, maybe you are the parent of a child who is quite bright and knows a lot, but just does not have the work habits. We know that they're still smart. Our world says you need to produce something. So let's be sure we're in conversation if your child, if you'd like for your child's work habits and perseverance to grow this year. And then what do I assess? Don't really expect you to remember all this. It's just to give you an overview and any talking points that you might want to chat about. So practice is something that we do every day a lot, and that's usually just graded for effort only. And normally the students are doing the correcting based on a whole class conversation or a group conversation. And I just look, did they do it? Did they make an attempt? At times there is classwork, and that would also include, there will be requirements for Khan Academy. And as we mentioned, the independent reading, there is that requirement of 10 books a quarter, and their progress through that will be reflected with a classwork grade. With writing, tests, quizzes, and projects, of course, I would assess anything that takes a while. Understand that there is feedback on every one of those activities. With writing and projects, it's often written feedback, and well, it's always written feedback. And in these asterisk works, sorry, a redo option is almost always available. And should that be something that your child wants to know more about, we will have plenty of conversation about that. All right. And then Atlas. So when you want to know how is your child doing academically, Atlas is the best place to go. It gives you that quick feedback. Then you can ask your student, or you can speak with your student, congratulate them on how well they're doing, or if there's something that doesn't look so right, ask them to give you the feedback, because they are responsible for it, right? I update Atlas on Tuesdays unless I make mention on Monday that something is up. And then I won't go into the weeds on this, but literally every assignment has a number. That assignment and the activities that go with it can be found in our learning management system, Google Classroom. All right. Just need to reiterate that every assignment is posted in Google Classroom. Every assignment has a number. That's an assignment in Google Classroom. I honestly don't expect you to, I won't go over it. I'll kind of send you a picture, and then if you have questions, and as we're moving through the year, if there's some feedback you'd like, I'd be happy to help you. Lates and missing. So I don't really take late work. So assignments are due on time. If someone needs extra time, a student simply needs to ask. If work is missing, which is what late work becomes, we can talk about what can we do going forward as a team, your child, you, and I, so that they can get those assignments done. It's reflected in Atlas, though, as just a 50%, all right, rather than a 0, because it gives the same message, but a student's grade is recoverable with just one missing. And then, is there homework? No, not really. They are given Khan Academy weekly goals in math. They have their independent reading. Occasionally, they'll have projects, and then any unfinished classwork. All of these things, if students are using their time wisely, they are welcome to use class time to get these things. So there may not be homework, Um, if you're finding your student involuntarily is spending a lot of time on any of these things, please contact me. Briefly, middle school, it's only one slide. You will, if you're interested in Computech, you will receive at your home an invitation. Um, and there will be some paperwork for you to fill out. I'm out of the equation. I'm out of that conversation. But I will always kind of let you know that when the transfer sheets are done, I'll kind of throw that at my action link so I know you have a lot going on. Fundraising and study trips. So I'm actually going to go to the bottom here. So study trips are really kind of a question mark. Right now, the only thing that we have on our calendar as our for sure is Calvin Crest. These are the dates that Room 14 will be going. I'll chat more about that in just a minute. Others, we're not sure. Fundraising. So we will, let me go on back. For fundraising, there's the fund run in October, and then we will be holding cookie dough sales. That money goes to students in sort of their account to pay for study trips. So if we get to the end of the year and Calvin Crest was the only thing that we did, that money, we'll find something interesting to do with it, and it will be used on this year's class. Now, if I could have dramatic music and weeping children in the background or pleading children in the background, I would. We will need cabin leaders for Calvin Crest Outdoor School. There are dates. Please complete the I Can form if you are considering it. And again, I will link something to the page that this is on. You can do it in one of two ways. Perhaps you have a situation where you can take the entire 5 days. Yay, that would be great. If you're the father or the uncle or the grandpa of a boy, your boy will be in your cabin with you. If you have a daughter, she would not be able to, but boy, we sure need your help. We will still need your help. Another option is 2.5 days shared with the same gender adult. So perhaps you can come from Monday to Wednesday at lunch. That would be fabulous and a great help. And we look for another parent who could take over for you in that cabin. Come back here for just a minute. So again, if I could have music and students behind me saying please, just know that our need for this is great. It's so much easier if our own parents can uh, cabin lead our students. And then the final video is about growth mindset, what it is. It is very specific where students come to the understanding that they can learn given the right tools, practice, effort, knowing it's totally okay if it's really hard at first and you just keep practicing. And I'll let you watch that link on your own if you are interested. So thank you very much. Any questions, feel free to communicate with me through the aforementioned communication avenues, and I will be sure to get back to you. Thank you. I am so looking forward to spending year live with students, and I look forward to our partnership together, and really appreciate you attending this online back to school night. Thank you, and good afternoon, good night, good morning, whatever time you're watching.